What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to now episode 11 of the Fourth and Long podcast. Today, I am once again joined by now co-host. For you guys who remember, is now a co-host role that Jalen Johnson has. Congrats to you, Jalen, and welcome back to
Thank you, thank
another
you.
week of just general shit talking about sports.
Shit talking and a little professionalism in there every once in a
Just
while.
a touch of professionalism.
Just a
That's all
touch.
you need. Sometimes
That's
in
all
the
you need.
kitchen you're seeing like a touch of rosemary. Here we got shit posting with a touch of professionalism to make it legit.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's the brand, baby. But we had a banger of a episode number 10 last week, big double digits. Then we had our UFC 244 recap show. For those that didn't know about that, go check that out. It was good shit. We had my boy Blake, resident UFC expert, on there. Great show for a great card. But this week we got something brand new. Not really, but we just got brand new content. And let's just dive into it, Jalen. All right, buddy?
All right, let's get this stuff done.
We are going to be rolling into the things we like corner. We're keeping it light this week because your boy's been having a shit week, and we just need to focus on the positives. And Jalen,
Try to focus on the positives,
one
people.
thing that was a big positive was seeing the Pats lose when they actually have to play a good team.
Mm,
There's
beautiful.
it's great when the Patriots have been playing this cupcake schedule when they have 6 games a year. There are pretty much 6 guaranteed wins because they play the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills. The Bills were at least competitive, but when you're going against the Jets and Dolphins, the two of the arguably worst teams in the league,
Hmm.
it's a pretty easy schedule. It also is great when Kraft is not only fondling sex trafficking workers at a massage parlor, but he's also, I guess, fondling Goodell to get these easy ass schedules, even though you're one of the best teams in the league. And so,
Yeah, it happens. It's happening in the college football world too. Like Alabama right now is might get pushed out of playoff contention just based off the fact that I believe it was on ESPN or Sports Center. They announced that so far this season overall, not so far, just in total, Alabama's teams that they're playing have a total win rating of a .389.
but at least if I'm playing devil's advocate, at least those teams actually schedule. They choose the teams that they're going to play that season for the most part. In the
Yeah,
NFL,
yeah,
it's all up
I'll give
to
you that.
a committee, and that committee
Hmm.
is just likes to bend over backwards to the Patriots, I guess. Fuck you, Boston.
Pretty much.
And so when the Patriots actually have to go on the road on the nice Sunday night up there in Baltimore, Maryland, going against the electric Lamar Jackson, some say he's Michael Vick 2.0, and he at least he doesn't abuse dogs, at least not yet. But man, to see their defense
Yeah.
struggle, to see their offense not do as well as it usually does because they're actually playing a legit defense in the Ravens, and then they get outcoached, they get outperformed, they get out executed. And it was just so nice. It was just a really refreshing way to end my NFL Sunday, especially with the Broncos getting that dub. It's a good Sunday.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
good Sunday.
beautiful, and it was also in a more professional tone. The Ravens had a great game overall, offense and defensive wise. Lamar Jackson kind of ran in, threw all over the Patriots too. He didn't throw any interceptions. Score, I believe it was a total of 3 touchdowns. He had a great night, and he's continued to show that he belongs in this league. Even though when he first got here, people were saying that he should move to receiver, and I think it's just beautiful that he's proving people wrong week
A
in and
running
week out.
back had a great game passing on Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but Lamar Jackson has the most passing yards ever by a running back in a season, 2 years in a row.
He was also the first running back to ever throw for 3 touchdowns in one game against the Patriots.
I wonder if that's true. Is that has another running back actually thrown for touchdowns in a?
I'd be willing to bet that no running back in NFL history has thrown for 3 touchdowns, at least in the era where they record stats. I'd guarantee it. And if that is something that did happen, I'd um, Nothing specific, but I probably do
I'm gonna
something
have to
pretty
look it
stupid. All right, we'll save that for next week. But Jalen,
All right.
what's the thing you like from this week in sports?
Thing I like from this week in sports is just the competitiveness in football. I would say because I think in college football is happening right now too.
Hmm.
The competitiveness that is happening in football right now. Like, like, yeah, we had the 49ers and Patriots going undefeated all the way into this week. The 49ers are still undefeated at this moment.
Patriots or not, fuck
But
you.
it's but the rest of the league is just pretty much just everyone still has it. Pretty much everyone other than the Redskins, the Dolphins, and the Bengals and the Jets. Everyone pretty much has a shot to still make the playoffs. Everyone's still in the mix. I mean, yeah, we still know most likely the teams that are making the playoffs are most likely going to end up edging it out at the end.
Hmm.
But just so far at the middle point of the season, even games where teams are losing a lot, like a lot of teams who don't have like the best record, are being competitive with top teams. And it's beautiful to not have blowouts week in and week out to where just no team is doing good and no team is doing bad all season. Like there's been highs and lows for every single team. So it's kind of beautiful to see just kind of like a fair playing ground finally. It's kind of like what you hope for in sports. It's just teams just being able to compete every week,
Now,
no
don't
matter
get
who
me
they're playing against.
yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. If I was a fan of a team that was just winning in a blowout, I'd be totally okay with that. But is just a general fan, just to see competitive games and to see these games that come down to the end and that end on one possession or the last play of the game, it does make everything a lot more exciting and a lot more enjoyable.
Definitely makes sense because obviously every single week you turn on the TV to watch your team. That's the main thing. You turn on to watch your team, but then every once in a while, you get caught up. Probably if you play fantasy or anything else,
Or
you caught
if
up
your
watching
team's in the
other
bye
games
week.
during the week. Yeah, and the bye weeks, you end up watching other games, and then when you watch those, you want competitive games. You like other. Obviously, sometimes it's fun to watch a blowout because it's like teams just pretty much
Who
manhandling the
doesn't
team.
like seeing
Sometimes it's just funny.
offense? That's what sports
Yeah,
are based
but
around.
at the same time, it's like you don't. That's not an every week thing. I would hate to see teams put out 50 points, and another team putting up zero. After a certain point, it's kind of like it gets old.
Exactly,
So
and
it's
I
just good to see
think
the league competitive this year.
exactly. I think you speak for at least 80% of sports fans right there. The other 20% are on crack, or just bandwagon fans that always only watch teams that win in blowouts.
Yeah, I don't see that as exciting football. I mean, I love to see a blowout every once in a while,
Every once
especially
in a
when it's
while,
an
oh, yeah.
unexpected blowout.
Yeah,
Especially like if the Dolphins went out and blew out the Patriots like 50 points, like 7. That's a game I'd watch. But
one,
like when it's an
I would love that
expected
because
blowout, that's when it's not
yeah,
as exciting.
exactly. One, I'd love to see that because who in the shit would think the Dolphins would win in a blowout? Two, who would think the Patriots would have gotten blown out? And three, it's always just nice to see the Patriots lose. Fuck you, New England.
Yeah.
Jalen, I appreciate you being the professional on this podcast. Uh, you bring some legitimate.
One of us has to be.
Well, see, the thing is, I should talk with facts sometimes.
Yeah, he usually has facts to back it. Like I understand a lot of people, if you come into our podcast and you kind of just skip around, you're probably going to catch a lot of just childish
Jokes. Yeah, childish bullshit, jokes,
and banter.
overreactions.
But if you actually
general
like
shit
listen
talking.
through if you actually listen to our general show, you kind of each joke kind of comes from somewhere and it's based off of fact. And then we kind of just try to make it lighthearted and
Right.
also it's not back and forth yelling at each other.
Right. See, if you actually listen, you might actually figure out that we at least somewhat know what we're talking about here on the Fourth and Long podcast. And that's
But before we do move on to the NFL recap, I just wanted to get your opinion on something, Ross.
yeah.
This I don't know if it was this week or not, but it was posted. It was a lot all over social media this week. Kellerman and Stephen A. got in an argument because
Again.
Kellerman, again every week,
Every day.
but every day. My bad, I forget.
Every segment.
But they got in an argument because Kellerman said the reason Eagles players are dropping passes so much is because Carson Wentz is a bad leader. And with a lot of yelling and stuff in between.
Let me give my opinion on this. with a classic Stephen A. quote. Stay off the weed. Max Kellerman is on some shit for saying that. He says stupid shit. See, this is the thing. I fucking as a person, I'm sure he's fine, whatever. But with the shit he says, and on a daily basis, Max Kellerman is one of the dumbest motherfuckers in the game. We talked about this, UFC 244. Yeah, the belt, Masvidal Diaz, best motherfucker in the game. Kellerman doesn't even need to fight anyone for this. Can we just put the belt, DMF, dumbest motherfucker, on him, please? Oh my.
Yeah, that's
dude.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Because what Stephen A. kept saying was, he kept saying, "So you telling me you the quarterback and I'm the receiver? You throw me the ball, I'm gonna drop it because I don't like you?"
That's what I was saying.
So that's
what I was supposed to say.
Doesn't make sense.
What competitor goes, "Oh, I don't like this guy. I'm gonna fucking drop every pass he throws to me."
It makes you look bad, not him.
I see a little bit of that. Like, of course, there are some times, like I could say from experience as a lineman, when our quarterback or running back is being an asshole and not going where he's supposed to or doing what he's supposed to do, or is not respecting us. Sure, we might not block for a play or two. But
just like a play or two, but not all season. You don't drop passes all season.
Just purposely drop passes the whole season because they don't respect the guy's leadership abilities. Dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see all that way. Why would you affect your money because you don't like somebody? That's petty and that's just childish.
That's like saying fucking Dante Moncrief just released from the Steelers. I think his stat line on the season was 5 catches and 6 drops. That's like saying he doesn't respect Mason Rudolph, so he's going to drop every pass and purposely get cut from the team.
Or he doesn't respect Mason Rudolph or Ben Roethlisberger or any of the other backups.
Okay, at least there's some reason to not respect Ben Roethlisberger. Mason Rudolph hasn't done anything yet
that we know of.
Ooh.
College is a tricky slope.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Jalen. Once again, we actually kind of have a long list, and I feel like we add a different name to that list of people we hate on the show every week. But we hate Max Kellerman. Fuck you.
Yeah, sooner or later, if this does end up blowing up and we end up recording in a certain place, and you guys could actually see us live while we're doing this, we'll have just a sign up in the back that has a list of people we hate, and we will add to it week by week if it's needed.
I'll get a whiteboard just for my room, just for my apartment, so we can keep adding to the list. I'll make a Google Doc and share it out to everyone who asks. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Thank you for bringing that up, Jalen. And stay off the weed.
Stay off the weed.
Stay off the weed. And stay off that crack pipe that Kellerman's smoking. Oh, boy. Yeah. But also, of course, Max Kellerman, because I know you're listening.
Obviously.
Come on the show and defend yourself, okay? Come on the show. I dare you.
We'll definitely enjoy to have you on here.
I dare you to come on the show and defend yourself.
Stephen A., you're also welcome. I'd love to have you on the show.
Of course, but you don't need to defend yourself. We just want to bask in your glory on this show, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. Stephen A. is probably one of my favorites. I love him
because the dude, he has a good mix of stupid, but also he backs up a lot of what he says. Also, he's just a good guy, too.
Yeah, he seems like he'd be a great guy to get to know, to be honest.
Yeah. I just hate that he supports Cowboys, but it is what it is.
He supports the Cowboys?
Oh, sorry. No, that was actually that's my other Will Kane. Sorry, I don't mean to share that blasphemy on you, Stephen A. I give my most humble apologies to you. Will Kane, a guy like one of the few ESPN employees that I do respect. He's a dirty Cowboys fan, and it's a shame. But, Stephen A., thank you. Keep doing what you're doing and making the world proud.
Yeah. The world's a better place with you in it, bud.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But with that, let's move into our NFL Week 9 recap. And, of course, every week it starts with my personal top 5 because, as I always say, my opinion is the only one that matters.
Yep. Let's go with that.
Starting with number 5, of course, is the Green Bay Packers. One thing before everyone says it, they did have an absolute stinker of a game down there in the shit city of Los Angeles in that soccer stadium, some like Dignity Health Stadium, some stupid shit like that. Fits 20K people, awesome. I'm sure 19,000 of them were Packers fans, but those Packers fans that were there in attendance only saw their team get thoroughly, well, maybe not thoroughly, but they did get fucked up, and it was really shocking. But also, it was
Yeah,
weird to see. It was final score of 26-11. Like, how many times do you see someone score 11 points? But man,
that's a weird scoreline.
I looked at the score like in the first half. I was like, did like ESPN accidentally switch the logos for the teams? Because that score didn't look right. I was expecting the exact opposite. More power to the Chargers. Credit to where credit's due. This is they played like the team that they were supposed to play at the beginning of the season, and we'll see if they're actually able to keep that up. Um,
Yeah, they are playing tonight. We are recording on Thursday night, while the Raiders are currently playing the Chargers.
and beating the Chargers. With Jalen, Packer is still number 5, or do you think they drop out of top 5 after what they did last week?
Um, I would keep them there right now just because the other two teams that I would say deserve to be in the top five, I think they still have to prove a little bit something to me
Mm-hmm.
before I would move the Packers out. The Packers could have just been having a bad week, or the
Mm-hmm.
Chargers could have just been really having a good week. So
All right.
you never know.
Yeah, exactly. Man, but next is possibly a surprise to a lot of people. But number 4, as a team we mentioned earlier, the Patriots are only the 4th best team in the NFL, and I have a reason for that. You can get they are 8-1, which is a very respectable record, and but to be
Hmm.
honest, I only had them at the top, or second place all those weeks, is only because they were undefeated. But if we look at who they actually played, they've hardly played anyone good. Let me give you this, Jalen. So far this
Um,
season, um, the teams that New England has played have a combined 24-43 record. They've only played
ouch.
two teams with the winning record, and that is the Ravens and Bills. They beat the Bills earlier this season by a final score of 16-10 in the game that the Bills could have won, and they also just as we mentioned earlier recently lost to the Ravens by 17 points. But if we don't add those, so both those teams are 6-2. If we take away the winning teams that they've played, so they've played 9 games. They've only played 2 teams with a winning record. Those 7 other games that they've had, their opponents are only a combined 12-39. And
Mm.
what the fuck? This is what we mentioned earlier. They're playing a shit schedule. What are your thoughts, Jalen?
Yeah, no, definitely. The schedule's not looking tough for them. It hasn't at all. I think the Ravens were the first actual test they've had this season. They lost by 17 points.
The Bills, you could
Obviously,
argue the
we
Bills
can.
were a test, but the Ravens were a
Yeah,
legitimate test,
the
which they
Bills are
failed.
like the surprise team this year. I don't think anyone is expecting them to be. I'm pretty sure as of right now, they are the second best team, second best record in the AFC. I'm not sure if that still holds up this week. I know that was how it was last week. But I think the Ravens have been the first playoff ready team that they've played so far this season,
Hmm.
and they lost by 17 points. Obviously, we could be reading it into it too much. They could have just had a really bad week, as they say. It happens in sports. Sometimes you have a bad week,
Yeah,
but it's just based off what we had to go off of. They played really bad teams and they dominated, and now they played a good team. They lose by 17 points, and it doesn't look good for them because going into playoffs, you're not going to be playing those 0-8 teams. You're not going to be playing the Dolphins. You're not going to be playing the Jets. You're going to be playing people like the Ravens.
hmm,
So I think they need to prove against another playoff ready team that they
yep,
can still compete
I
against high
agree.
level teams.
I agree. So looking ahead with the Ravens schedule are winnable games, but there are going to be some challenges. Up next, they pretty much have a second bye week when they play the Bengals. But then they have the Texans, Rams, Niners, and Bills. So that's a solid 4-game stretch. After that, they close it out the season with the Jets, Browns, and Steelers, which all 3 of those games should be winnable. But there's this 4-game stretch is coming up where that's really going to determine their season possibly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely believe they'll make playoffs just
Yes.
because of the division they're
At least
in.
a wild card, man. At
Um,
least a wild card.
yeah, they're definitely going to make it. But I just I think that this losing this week is going to hurt because the fact that now you do have that tough 4-game stretch coming up,
Yep.
and when you go in on a down, it's really hard to
Exactly.
get back up.
Momentum's a
I
real
think the
thing.
same thing's happening later with the Niners, but we'll talk about
Yep.
that when we get to.
Yes, we will. So, above the Patriots, we had the team we were just talking about, which is the Ravens. They're just playing really good football, like we've been talking about. They have a great offense, solid receiving core. Lamar Jackson's been playing great. He might even be up there in the MVP talks, if we're being honest. Uh,
Definitely.
their running game's been solid, with Lamar Jackson included. Lions playing solid football. And then over on the defense side, they're able to suffocate teams and keep on putting the ball back in Lamar Jackson in the offense's hand. And that's just really good complementary football. And that's how you win games, especially in the playoffs, as we were talking about too. They do legitimately look like a playoff rate team. And playoff rate teams are the ones that could run the ball and they could play defense. And that's what the Ravens are doing right now.
Yeah, definitely. The Ravens are definitely looking like a complete team on both sides of the ball, especially with the addition of Marcus Peters was beautiful on
Mm-hmm.
their side. I think that was
Big
a great
time.
acquisition by them. It's only going to push them to do better now that he's there. Defense looks great. Lamar Jackson definitely. I remember we had a conversation a couple podcasts back about who that third person would be in the MVP talks. I
We
think I
were
am ready to
saying
say
Lamar
Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson. Lamar Jackson would be my third right now, based off of just first off the amount of doubt that was thrown his way
Mm-hmm.
of just the like that he wasn't going to be able to perform where he did last year or better. I think that was disrespectful to say at the least
Yeah.
for the beginning of the season. And he's come out and he's ran the ball. He's proven he can throw the ball. He's proven that he's a good game manager. He can keep his team in the game. He's definitely shown that playing against a great defense, which I do think the Patriots defense is a good defense.
Yes.
I do think that
That
this week
defense
was
is
really
still for
bad for the
real.
Patriots. Yeah, I still think the Patriots defense, what they did, even if it was against losing teams, that was still very impressive what they did all the way until up until the game against the Ravens. I think he tore them apart. He showed that he can run the ball and throw the ball in the same game. Like it's not just he doesn't just choose a game to do one thing. He does both whenever he can.
Exactly.
And I feel like I definitely throw him in the number 3 for MVP talks, and I would definitely put the Ravens in as number 3.
If we're talking MVP, he is not top 3 for me. He is number 4, actually, because my top 3 in order is Russell Wilson, Christian McCaffrey, and Aaron Rodgers. But he's definitely right there at that number 4 spot. But moving on from the Ravens to the number 2 spot, we have the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are a big time team. They've been around the top 3, just right behind the Niners and the Patriots for most of it. But now we're looking at a Saints team that for the first time since week 2, they're going to have Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas all playing together. And this is big because they haven't played together since week 2, but the Saints are still a 7-1 team. Imagine how good they're going to be with all 3 of those guys performing.
Definitely. I think they've been a complete team. They've been winning games without each of those 3 key players. I think at the beginning of the season, we thought those 3 players were going to have a big seasons for the team. And the fact that they've not played together since week 2 and they've still gone 7-1, I think is amazing. They're definitely a complete team. Even with Teddy Bridgewater in, they were dominant. Even with Alvin Kamara out, they were dominant. And with Michael Thomas out, they were dominant. So I definitely see why they're at number 2. They're great on both sides of the ball. They keep the ball moving. They're electrifying offense. So definitely worthy of the number 2 rank.
Yep. Man, of course, that's just offensive side. But on defensive side of the ball, they are performing. They have a top five defense down there in the Bayou, and there's no sign of them slowing down right now. There
Not at all.
isn't. They are taking that NFC and they are running with it right now, and they're the team to beat in the NFC, straight up. But
Definitely.
yeah, and that number one spot for this week, as you guys all could have guessed before we talked about this, that is indeed the San Francisco 49ers. They're playing solid football, even though a lot might argue that the same thing with the Patriots, that they haven't played that good of teams. They have been tested against the Rams, and they're going to have another big test this week on Monday Night Football against Seattle, and I believe that one is in Santa Clara, so that will help. But the 49ers are, um, you can't argue against them being the best team. Uh, they're A&O,
No.
solid offense.
Yep.
Jimmy Garoppolo is actually kind of pulling his own weight now, which is a big thing to see. And their defense is still playing lights out. Number one, number two, or number one defense in the league now.
Definitely. Um, I think that they got tested a little bit last week against the Cardinals. I think they got a little scared there. I think
Cardinals
they
almost came
tried.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was a crazy game, and I don't think that was exposing the 49ers at all. I think the 49ers thought they could take a week off, and they got caught slipping, almost all the way. And like I was saying with the Patriots, they got tested by a team. I think the 49ers, they have the game against the Seahawks. And I think if they lose either this week against the Seahawks or the week after against the Cardinals, after that, they have a pretty tough schedule to finish out the season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do believe that they need to win the Cardinals game and the Seahawks game to finish off the season strong. Because, like I said, momentum, even though it is just like a non tangible thing, it means a lot.
As an
Losing a
athlete,
game
you can say that
can cause a
momentum.
lot.
I can say that momentum is real. It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's definitely very effective on the team. And if they lose a game against the Seattle Seahawks, or if they win against the
Big
Seahawks in a
divisional
close
game.
game, especially in a divisional game, that's going to be a big hit because first of all, the games against divisional rivals are usually a little bit more physical, so you have a better chance of someone getting hurt or
Mm-hmm.
just being a little bit more roughed up next week. So they have two in a row. So they're going to be playing the Seahawks this week and Cardinals next week. So I think if they lose either of these games, it's going to kind of kill the momentum that they have. And definitely, I think we're going to see them going negative down the stretch um, if they end up losing one or two of these next two games.
Yep. There is no doubt that these upcoming games are really big on their schedule, might have really big playoff implications because I believe that the MC West um, division champ is going to be either the Niners or the Seahawks. And that is something that we'll cover here in a quick second. But so that's the top five. Couple teams I want to throw in there that are the first out. Seahawks and Chiefs are right there at 6 and 7, respectively. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it does put a damper on the Chiefs that their defense is still playing really suspect, and that Matt Moore. But they're still one of the top teams in the league, and the Seahawks.
Definitely.
Same thing with the Seahawks. Their offense has been amazing. Russell Wilson's on the MVP career path right now. He has 22 touchdown passes, only one interception, but the thing is, it's kind of like the Chiefs. Their defense is kind of shit. They gave up over 30 points to the Bucks. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't let the Bucks put up 30 on you.
Not at all. I don't think that you can do that and and be in the top five.
Yeah.
I think that both these teams are great offensive teams. Kind of iffy defenses on both sides. Even the Seattle defense, I would say, is slightly iffy sometimes. I would say they're very inconsistent or inconsistent. My bad.
Yep. That's a good
But
way to put it. You're putting it
I
nicely.
think that their defense is inconsistent, even though when they do decide to play, they're a pretty dominant defense. Chief defense is just suspect all around.
Yep.
I think they need to address that. My problem with the Seahawks is since their defense is so inconsistent, I feel like their offensive wise, Russell Wilson saves them a lot.
Yeah,
I feel
well,
like
that's
if
how it
Russell
has been
Wilson
for the
goes,
past few seasons. Russell Wilson's
yeah,
just been making these
feel like
stupid, really, just ridiculous plays. You know?
exactly. And I feel like if Russell Wilson goes down injured, or if Russell Wilson decides he doesn't want to play for the Seahawks anymore, or in the future when Russell Wilson retires, I think there's a lot of holes on that offense that have not been addressed that can come back to hurt the Seahawks if they don't address it. The offensive line is at some points is abysmal. Their run game is dangerous because of the fact that you have to respect Russell in the run and pass game,
Mm-hmm.
and so that tends
Play
to
action
open up a
works
lot of
well.
exactly. It tends to open up a lot of running lanes for those running backs who also, in my opinion, are benefiting from Russell Wilson. It's just I think that there's a lot of holes on this team that Russell Wilson continues to block because of how good he's been playing. And I feel like they need to address them either with free agents or in the off season.
Might have to look
Obviously,
into
this
the
season they'll
draft.
be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously this year they're going to be fine.
Yep.
I don't see Russell Wilson anything happening to him unless
They just
it's
got to
injury
rebuild the
wise.
Legion Boom
Uh,
is a thing.
yeah, but I don't see anything happening to him anytime soon. I feel like he keeps himself safe. He doesn't take too many big hits, so I really don't see him getting injured.
Nope.
If he does,
They're
that's
fucked.
when it comes down to they need to be a better team.
Yep. But that's the top
Excuse me,
five.
sneeze there.
You're good. You got the Seahawks and Chiefs are the first out, but Packers number 5, Patriots number dropping all the way to number 4, Ravens moving up to number 3, Saints moving up to number 2, and the Niners staying at number 1. And let's move on into piggybacking on some of the things we were talking about with quarterback play, at least, and some things that we've already discussed on previous episodes. But a few headlines coming out of the NFL this week. Nick Foles is starting for the Jaguars as soon as they get back off their bye. Minshew mania is effectively dead at this point. Kind of a shame, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely think Gardner Minshew had a kind of bad week last week. Um Offense only put up I think it was 6 points. Was it
Yeah,
6 or 3 points,
he's 3. He's had kind of a lesser last couple weeks, which hasn't helped
Yeah.
his resume.
But it's definitely hurt his rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year talks. Obviously, it's hurt those. And I think it
It's not
hasn't
happening
100% been his
anymore.
fault. Yeah, I know.
Guaranteed.
I think the Minshew magic has run out for at least this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think it's 100% his fault that he lost his starting job. I think they have had bad weeks, but I feel like he's kind of been a bright spot at some points for those bad weeks, except this last week. I think it's more the fact that Nick Foles got paid so much money to come to Jacksonville,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't trade him at the trade deadline. They haven't released him, and he never got a chance to prove if he could play or not in Jacksonville. So I feel like it's more they paid him this much money, they brought him here over some other quarterbacks they could have taken here or drafted, and I feel like they're just like we're going to get our money's worth. And
Exactly.
if they don't, I think then Gardner gets next year to be the full-time starting quarterback all season. Unless they bring in a vet to start over him, we
Mm-hmm.
never know. This upcoming offseason, I think is going to be filled with a lot of free agents that we don't expect. Well, not that we don't expect, but just like big names like Cam Newton might be on the market and just other
He's definitely going to be on the market. We'll talk about it in
yeah,
a
but
second.
definitely a couple other players who might be either trade or be open for trade or might be free agents or released.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it's more they want to see if Nick Foles is worth the money
Yep.
and if he's their future or if they stick with Gardner Minshew or draft a quarterback. I think they're just trying to figure out all their options because they never really got a good look at Nick Foles.
Exactly. That was my point. I think the biggest reason that Nick Foles is now going to be the starter since he's healthy is because they paid him a crap ton of money. And if you pay a guy that kind of money, you kind of have to play him. You're not
Just a
going
little bit.
you're not going to pay a guy tens of millions, only to sit on the bench behind a rookie. No offense to Gardner Minshew, but you can't pay a guy tens of millions to sit behind a 6th-round draft pick on the bench. You can't. Moving on, another quarterback. news: Cam Newton, his season's effectively over, as he is put onto the injured reserve. This wasn't too surprising because he's really that injury on his foot has been nagging him a lot. But it's just now clear that at least for the rest of the regular season, they're going to be rolling ahead with Kyle Allen.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who don't understand why he would be out for the rest of the season, after you get put on IR, after halfway through the season, you have to stay on there for the rest of the season.
Regular
so that's why
season,
it's
at least. He
effectively
is,
ending
if
the
they make the
season.
playoffs, he is eligible to play. But
Yes, if
that's a
they
big
make the
if.
playoffs, he is eligible to play.
That's a big if they make the playoffs.
They have been on a roll. Kyle Allen is only 5-1. They did start off 0-2. So definitely, I think they have a chance to make the playoffs. I do think they stick with Kyle Allen
Yep.
in the playoff unless Cam Newton gets hurt.
Yeah.
But I feel like Cam Newton's time on the Panthers is up. I feel like Kyle Allen has proven that he can play.
Yep.
Going 5-1 in the NFL is not easy to do, especially when it's your first time as a starter.
Yep.
And I think that Cam Newton is going to be on the open market. I think I think the Bears, in all honesty, I think they move on from Mitch Trubisky and try to
save
go
that
after
thought for
Cam.
a second. Save that thought for a second, okay? Don't want
Yeah.
to spoil it for the audience. Stick around a little longer. Get our view time up, okay?
All right. But yeah, I think Cam Newton's time is done.
Yep. Last one I want to talk about is there's the rumor mill is running wild with this one, and that is, are the Chargers actually considering moving to London? Considering according to the owner, no, the report is total BS. But fuck you, Spanos. Number one, and two, why not speculate? It's fun. It gets the headlines.
Yeah, it's something fun to
It
talk
gets the
about,
views.
definitely.
Yep, the biggest
definitely.
impact I could see on this is if the Chargers do move, that will screw the hell out of the divisions in the AFC at least, because there's no way in hell that the Chargers stay in the AFC West while they're across the Atlantic Ocean. So you're going to find someone to move into the AFC West, and you're going to. It's like you're going to shift every team, every team from East Coast to West, over a division. So you're going to take someone from the AFC North or South, move them into the AFC West, then fill that hole, then put the Chargers into the AFC East. Is that the way it would go?
Yeah, no, it's definitely be a weird situation. There is a lot of memes about this week. We do look at the memes, guys.
Of course,
we're
memes are
professional,
big.
but we love a good joke.
Memes
But
can be
it was
professional.
like
Jalen.
it was a quote from the Chargers coach. It was like, no one wants to play in foggy ass, stinky ass London. I thought it was hilarious. At first, I thought it was on a real page because I do follow a page that has the same logo as a meme page. So at first, I thought it was a real. a real quote, and I was like, well, that's not going to go over well with international relations. But I don't think it'd be the best move. I don't. I just think that they should kind of keep it in the United States. I love teams playing in other countries.
I
I
don't.
love the idea of us playing a game in Mexico, even though we do need to fix the problem with Mexico
As a
field.
fan, I think it's shitty.
I think they need to fix that Mexican field that they have.
Oh yeah, Mexican field's
I
shitty
love
too.
I love having games in London.
I don't.
Those games are kind of exciting, other than the fact that they do happen really early here. I feel like
The
they should
British
move
don't
those to more
deserve anything
midday
good,
games.
especially not the best football in the world. Fuck you, soccer.
Okay. But I think they should move London games to later in the day if possible. I think having them so early, a lot of Americans do end up missing those games, which is why those games
Yeah, it's
have
like the
such low
UFC
views.
having a show in Korea. Who the hell wants to wake up at 5 in the morning to watch a fight? We're
And it's
China
just,
for that.
doesn't
Wake up
help.
at 3 o'clock in the morning for a main card? Nah. It's not happening.
Yeah, no, not at all. But I think if they want to make it like a thing that everyone's all right with, you kind of have to find a middle ground for both
Yeah.
sides. Yes, that's a great time to do it for London people. That's like their early morning game. But I feel like if you're gonna do that at the same time, you also have to worry about your main audience because right now your London audience isn't big enough to just take over your American
No,
audience.
not
You have
even
to find a
close.
middle ground. Exactly. So I feel like you have to find a middle ground to where people can still view the games
Hmm.
from America and watch and go to the games in London at the same time, so you still can gain both followings at the same time
Yep.
and not lose following.
I agree,
So I,
Jalen.
I think that playing games in other countries works. I think we still need to kind of work out a few of the kinks,
Hmm.
but I don't think we should move a team
Totally
to
agree with
another
you.
country unless we were planning on like expanding the NFL. I don't think we should move an already made team
Yep.
to the new country.
Totally agree with you on that one, Jalen. Those are the headlines. And let's keep rolling right into the fan favorite segment of the show. And that is our overreactions. This is for
Gotta
those
love
that are unaware. We have a certain number of statements every week, and we will either deem them in overreaction or we will deem them just a good reaction, you know?
it. Yeah.
Number one is something that we did mention, something I told Jalen to shut up about so he didn't ruin it. And and so here it goes. The Panthers should trade Cam Newton. Jalen, overreaction or not?
I think it is an underreaction. I think
Mm,
that it's just right. I feel
yep.
like the Panthers need to train Cam Newton.
Yep.
I feel like it's nothing wrong with the relationship, but at the
Nothing
same
personal
time,
to Cam. Nothing
yeah,
personal.
it's nothing personal. I think Kyle Allen has proven he could be a quarterback. If he doesn't make it work, I feel like you still need to draft a quarterback or
Hmm.
sign another veteran quarterback. Either way, I feel like Cam Newton's time in Carolina is done. I feel like they need to kind of change up their offense. I feel like their offense is not built. I mean, it was built for Cam, and it's not working for Cam right now.
And now
And so I
that
think that
offense
they
is
need
where Kyle Allen can throw the ball when he needs to and get really good at handing off the ball to Christian McCaffrey.
yes. But I think that it's time to move on from them. I feel like they can get a lot back for Cam
Yep.
and still have Kyle and still draft a quarterback if they want to,
Yep.
or use
It's a deep
the
draft
cap
class
space
this
that
year
they're.
too. They could get
It's
a
a pretty
decent one
deep
in the
draft
second.
class as of is barring that there are no busts in this draft. Is a
Yep.
pretty great draft class for quarterbacks. Um, I think that they have a better chance of trading him and getting capital off of him
Yep.
and getting that 19.1 million in cap space.
Yes, if
I
they get
think will
rid of Cam
also
Newton's
help them out a
contract
lot.
right now, they will free up 19.1 million in cap space, which is going to be big for free
Definitely.
agency at least. Also signing the
They're
rookies.
big for free agency. I think that will help if they don't draft running back. They could definitely sign a free agent running back to kind
Yep.
of have that 1-2
Ooh,
punch with Christian
Jalen.
McCaffrey.
Jalen. What about this? Cam Newton to the Chicago Bears for if you want to get a good backup for Christian McCaffrey, you do Cam Newton to the Bears for Tyreek Cohen and draft capital.
Wow.
Mm.
That I think that works. That would be
Boom.
amazing. I feel
There
like
we go.
that deal works for both
Yeah,
sides.
yep. Panthers call me up. I'm the new GM in this bitch. Hire me. I don't even need to get
But
paid
I
that
think
much. Just give me like a couple million a year. I'll do my thing.
I think the cap, I feel like the cap space helps them in general. It's cap space they need to fill the holes that they have,
Yep.
and I feel like the trades for draft picks will also help uh, fill holes that they have more towards the side of they need youth on the team. I
Yep.
feel like their receiving core is really young. I feel like they need to
It's
get
like
a
a mini
veteran receiver.
rebuild is what they need to do.
Yeah, a mini rebuild, not a full blown out rebuild where they're
No.
losing
But they already have
12
pieces.
games a
They
year.
just need to fill in a few more.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like they need a veteran receiver, which I feel like clearing up that space. I feel like they can probably get a receiver from the Bears if they wanted to, but I would probably wait till free agency and
Yep.
just use any new space that they get from getting rid of Cam on a veteran receiver, and then use the draft to get a couple more things.
Exactly. So that is not an overreaction from you, Jalen. Also agree. That is not an overreaction. That's what they need to do. Or I guess can't really shame him anymore, can you? You guess you just gotta cut him. or wait till next year. Wait till the
Yeah,
season's
I don't
over.
think.
I think you can still trade him after the season. He's still going to have plenty of value because it's not going to diminish the rest of the year. It might actually increase in terms of the Bears because their offense is just going to get worse. And that's discussion for another second. Second
Definitely.
statement is that Tom Brady is not the greatest system quarterback of all time because the new greatest system
That's
quarterback of all time is Patrick Mahomes over an Andy Reid system. Jalen, what do you think on this one?
I think that's an overreaction.
You sure?
He is the greatest system quarterback of all time. And I
So
see
you're
your
saying
little
Patrick Mahomes is
tally
not a
down
good
there.
quarterback? Well, you guys heard here first. Jalen says Patrick Mahomes is a bust.
Patrick Holmes, I don't think is a system quarterback. I think with that much arm strength and mobility, he is just a good quarterback in general. Yes, he's hurt right now, but I feel like that shouldn't hurt his stock at all. I feel like he's a great quarterback in general. Tom Brady is still the greatest system quarterback of all time. I feel like him having battle. I feel like he's not as sharp, obviously, as he
Mhm.
used to be.
Yep.
I feel like he's still a pretty great system quarterback.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, definitely overreaction. I think Tom Brady is still the greatest system quarterback of all time.
That's fair. I got this next statement. I got a suggestion from one of my buddies who is, of course, a Niners fan. And this
Hmm.
statement is that the NFC West is the best division in the league right now. I'm just going to start this off. I'm saying that this is not an overreaction. They are between BSF. I'm going to say that the NFC West actually produces three playoff teams, with the Niners winning the division, and with the Seahawks taking the first wild card spot, and the Rams taking the second wild card spot. It's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a very competitive division. As seen last week on Thursday, they always come to compete against each other. The Cardinals, who everyone thought was going to get blown out,
Hmm.
especially after the Raiders,
They're looking
not Raiders.
actually
The,
respectable somewhat.
yeah, they put up a respectable game against the 49ers. And it's just every single time these teams play each other, amazing close games pretty much almost every time, or
Yep.
just like dominating by teams in this division. I think all the teams in this division pose a threat to any team at any time. I feel like even the Cardinals at this point, even if they don't win a lot of their games against top teams, I
Hmm.
feel like they kind of put a scare on a lot of the top teams because of how unpredictable their offense and defense can be. I feel like they put a scare on most teams. The Rams have been not as good as expected this season,
But they're
but
still
they're
good.
still been very dangerous.
Yeah.
Cooper Cup's had an amazing season.
Yes.
Definitely my choice for comeback player of the year at the moment.
Ooh, that's a good call.
Um, and I think that they're really good. And I feel like since they haven't had as good a season as
Hmm.
everyone expected, they've kind of been deemed like a sneaky
I
good
think they're a
team
little under the
because
radar
they
right
have that
now.
little, yeah, it's a little bit on the radar. I feel like a lot of teams kind of don't, they're not really a team that everyone's like, oh my God, we have to play the Rams this week.
They're still a
And so I
top
feel
10
like they're
league,
going to,
top 10 team.
yeah, I think they're definitely a top 10 league team.
Yeah.
The Seahawks, obviously, with Russell Wilson having an MVP season,
Hmm.
very dominant. And of course, the 49ers, who are undefeated right now, barring they start losing the rest of the season,
Yep.
they'll definitely make playoffs as one of the top teams in the NFC. And they'll be dominant too. So I definitely think this is one of the toughest divisions to play in
So
and one of the
not
best
overreaction.
divisions in. No, I don't think it's an overreaction. I think
Um,
it was just right.
I'm gonna roll with that too. Statement number four is that the Jets are the worst team in the league. Not the Bengals, not the Dolphins, not the Redskins, but the Jets. I'm gonna go non
No.
overreaction. The Jets just look dog shit. Their defense sucks ass. Feel bad for Jamal Adams. Their offense is garbage. Even with Le'Veon, he's not doing anything. Sam Darnold's still seeing ghosts, and Adam Gase is absolute fucking moron when it comes to running it off an NFL team.
And on the professional side of everything, I believe that the Jets are not the worst team in the league. I feel like they had a bad week. I feel like that the Dolphins are still the worst team in the league.
Even
I
after
feel like
the
even though the
Dolphins
Dolphins,
just beating the Jets.
I feel like the Dolphins beat the Jets, but I feel like the Dolphins are still the worst team in the league. I
Bold
feel like it's
take.
a bad, in my opinion, I think it is a bad matchup for the Jets. I feel like the Dolphins are a bad matchup for the Jets based off of personnel and scheme. I feel like the Dolphins are faster than the Jets and overall can push the ball down the field, where the Jets have weaknesses. So I definitely think it's just a bad matchup for the Jets. I think
Yep.
overall, if you put them against pretty much anybody else in the league, the Dolphins are terrible. I think if you put the Jets against a couple of teams, there's a couple more games that I think the Jets would win that the Dolphins wouldn't.
That's
And then
fair.
obviously there's still the Bengals,
Yeah, so you're going to
who are
say
pretty
that this
shitty
is
too.
an overreaction?
I think it's an overreaction. I think I'd have to see more for the call them the worst
Hmm.
team in the league. But I think as of right now, I still would say it's between the Dolphins and the Bengals.
All right. I'm going to go opposite with you. I'm going to say that this is not an overreaction. I believe if the Bengals and the Jets matched up, I believe the Bengals are taking that game 9 times out of 10. And
Mm,
no, that's
okay.
just why I see. I especially if they get AJ Green back for a game like that, the the offense is just in shambles with the Jets, and Sam Darnold can't do anything to. He can't do anything right now. It's
And also
kind of
in
embarrassing.
quarterback news, that Finley will be starting this week
Yep.
for the
And of course,
Bengals.
we discussed that Andy Dalton was benched on his birthday, which I saw as a present because that means he didn't have to play on the doctor team, and he's still gonna get paid money. So I see that as a
Yeah.
win-win.
So I think that that might change it. We don't know. We might know if it's going to change for the
Hey,
better
we'll
or
see.
worse, but I think
It
it's
happened
definitely
with
going to make
Kyle
a
Allen.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Same
let's
number
see where it
five
goes.
here. And just to close this one off, I'm gonna go with our fifth statement, and that is that Mitch Trubisky is not the problem in Chicago. He's not the reason that the offense. He's not the sole reason that the offense is sucking. He's not the main reason either. And the real reason that the offense can't do a damn thing in Chicago is because Matt Nagy is a god awful coach, and he has
Hmm.
successfully ruined Mitch Trubisky.
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like he slightly is the problem, but I feel like he is fixable. I feel like he's made a couple of bad decisions on his part,
Are you talking
throwing the
about
ball.
Trubisky?
Trubisky,
Yes.
yes. I feel like it's fixable. I feel like he just needs to work on some mechanics,
Yep.
and I feel
Decision
like he
making.
needs to be, yeah, decision making also needs to
You
be
can
fixed a
still
little
say
bit.
Mitch
I
Trubisky.
feel like, yeah. So I definitely still think it's Mr. Trubisky. At this point, I do think Mr. Trubisky is a problem in Chicago.
Yeah. There's no
I think
denying
Matt
that.
Nagy's
He's played
making,
like shit.
yeah, he's played like shit. I think Matt Nagy has made a lot of bad play calls this year, but I feel like it's not 100% Nagy's fault because Matt Nagy is making pretty much, in my opinion, the same exact calls that he was making last season. And just I feel like this year, Mr. Trubisky just hasn't been able to perform and
Hmm.
do what is expected of him on a lot of those plays. And I feel like that's making Matt Nagy look worse. I don't think Matt Nagy's like a top coach. I
He's
don't,
far
in
from
my
it.
opinion, he's not.
He's
But
honestly he's
I
the
do
reason that
think
the
that,
Bears aren't going. Ooh, yep. I'm gonna say that Matt Nagy is the reason. Quote me on this. I swear. I'm gonna put this on Twitter. Is a little just thing I said. Matt Nagy is the reason that the Bears are not going to make the playoffs this season.
yes, I think it will come down to Matt Nagy because obviously coaching is going to be a big
And the
deal.
Bears, more
But I
takeaway, the
think,
Bears are making the playoffs this year.
yeah, I think that he's made play calls based off the fact of what he believes Mitch Trubisky can do. And I feel like Mitch Trubisky having the season that he's having,
He
Matt
can't do
Nagy
it.
has had to change up how he's planned on
Mm-hmm.
doing the season.
Okay.
And I feel like he didn't make the best decision on changing up some of those
All right.
plans.
So you're going to call Mitch Trubisky isn't the problem in Chicago in overreaction.
Yes, I think it is an overreaction. I think Mitch Trubisky is the problem.
Okay.
I feel like he can fix the fact that he's a problem.
But he's still the
Uh,
main reason that they suck.
but I think he is the main reason that they suck right now. I feel like
All
Matt
right.
Nagy has made bad calls,
Yep.
but they've been avoidable if Mitch Trubisky played better ball. If Mitch Trubisky was having at least an average to slightly above average season,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say it was Matt Nagy's fault if this was still how the season was going.
Yep.
But I definitely think it's a combination of the two. But I think Mitch Trubisky probably outweighs Nagy at this point.
That is fair. That is our overreaction segment of the week. Hope you all enjoyed that fan favorite one. Let's keep rolling into a segment that we introduced last week for the 10th episode, a little special episode. And we're going to bring it back for this week. And that is the stats of the week. We bring unique and the kind of less heard of stats. And just, it's a fun fact. If we're being honest, it's fun facts.
Pretty much.
Yeah. We got a couple this week. The first one is for the first time in NFL history, three quarterbacks with the same last name, all won on the same day. That is Josh Allen for the Bills, Kyle Allen for the Panthers, and Brandon Allen, who made his debut for the Denver Broncos, throwing 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, having a pretty good game. Jalen, what do you think of this one? Is this a thing?
Well,
Is this a thing? Or is this,
Allen was a lucky name this week.
only if you're a quarterback in the NFL, not for me.
Yeah. Allen was a lucky name this week for NFL players.
Thank you. Make it a little more specific. Stat number 2. This week, Brian Hoyer became just the 5th player in NFL history to throw a touchdown for 7 different teams. Jalen, without looking at the list that's right in front of your face, can you name the teams?
Name the team. I'm not going to look at it. I swear I'm looking away from it.
Okay.
I know he's going for the 40. You said how many teams are there?
There is 7 teams. What are those teams?
Okay. So I know he's the one for the Patriots.
Yep.
I know he was a Cardinals quarterback, unfortunately.
Yep.
The Niners.
Yep.
I know the Texans.
Yep.
And the Bears.
Yep.
And 2 other teams.
Who is he on right now?
What team is he on right now?
Oh, come on. Come on.
Is he a Falcon?
No, he's not a Falcon.
He's not a Falcon?
No, that's Matt Schwab, the GOAT. Okay?
Oh, he was the Browns quarterback.
Yes.
He was the Browns quarterback. That's 6.
Yep.
That's 6.
And then the last team.
And then Jacoby Brissett just got hurt too. So
Yep.
I'm gonna go with the Colts.
Let's
I'm
go,
gonna go with
baby.
the Colts.
You got it. You got it. What a beast.
I didn't know he played for the Colts. I honestly didn't realize that.
forgot.
I just know Jacoby Brissett was the only quarterback I know that got hurt this week.
So who's a third string?
Exactly. So I was like, I don't know who the Colts
Jalen.
quarterback is since Jacoby's down. The only reason I know all that is because he was a Cardinals quarterback, and I tend to watch them after they leave to make sure they do bad other places.
Those are 2 stats. Fun one. Advocate Jalen. Staying with football, but going to college. This week, we just had the first college football playoff rankings released. And those are in order from 1 to 4. Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, Penn State. And number 5, first out team is Clemson. Jalen, do you agree with these rankings by the committee?
I do not. I think if we're going to push a team out of the top 5, I would push Alabama out right now because of the fact that they played a lot of bad teams. I would not push Penn State out. They've looked very dominant. I would keep Penn State in there. I would push Bama out.
Hot takes, lukewarm takes on the 4th and Long show.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Clemson has been pushed to 5 because of the fact of they had that really close, which should have been a loss to North Carolina.
Yep.
I feel like that almost loss.
They've also just been generally
so
underperforming this year in the weak ACC.
Yes. I feel like they have, but at the same time, I feel like Alabama, which we don't talk about enough, is doing the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're doing the same exact thing, but they're playing worse teams than Clemson's playing. Yeah, and so I feel like they're just playing worse teams right now than Clemson has played, even though Clemson did almost lose to North Carolina. North Carolina, while they are not a great team, they have enough talent and skill and great coaching to where they can threaten good teams. And I feel like that wasn't. I mean, obviously it was a surprise, but at the same time, they are not terrible like some of the teams that Alabama's been playing. So I think Alabama, if we're really going off of the fact that I see no reason Clemson should be out of the top 4, other than the fact that they almost lost to NC. And so I feel like if we're going off of that, I think Bama deserves to be 5.
So you say, in your opinion, your top 4 is Ohio State, LSU, Penn State, and Clemson.
Yeah, I'd go with that right now. I think Oregon should have been higher on the rankings, in my opinion.
Oregon,
but
I think maybe number 6.
Yeah, I'd put them at
Hey, this
6.
is just another reason
Um,
why they should expand to 8 teams. That's all I'm saying.
and I think
But
they
that's
should
a
expand
topic
it.
for another show,
Yeah, I think they should expand definitely. Maybe even to 16.
maybe. And then kind of play that like one conference in the NFL, how you have a couple buys and the lower four play, then they play the top
Yeah,
two. That's fair. If
that's
I'm
how
going to give
exactly
you
I think it
my
should go.
top four, I will switch up the order, um, and change it around a little bit. I got LSU number one, Ohio State number two, Penn State number three, Clemson number four.
Nice.
Mm.
I definitely see that.
Hey, it's gonna be great base. You got Ohio State playing Penn State later in this year. You have the undefeated Minnesota Golden Gophers, in the over there in the Big 12. They're gonna be playing some big games against Penn State and Ohio State, and the college football is just going to get crazier later down the season. And once again, talking about
Yeah,
competitiveness, this is the best part.
in my opinion, just while we're on the topic of college football playoffs, is I think one of the biggest and most exciting spectacles in all of sports is March Madness. I
Mm-hmm.
think March Madness, even
Mm-hmm.
though I'm a big NBA fan, I don't watch much college basketball until it comes to March Madness because the fact that the tourney is so big, there's so many
Yeah,
chances for small teams to beat
exactly.
big teams,
It's
and
great.
I think that's what makes
Basketball
sports
too.
exciting.
I
So I
think
feel like if you
basketball is a little
expand it
more
to
competitive
16,
than football as well.
yeah, exactly. Because in basketball, teams have bad shooting days.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad shooting day and you catch a team who's having a good shooting day, any team can win on any day.
Yep.
Uh, I feel like, hold on. Oh, my bad. Bless me.
It's okay.
Thank you. I feel like if you expand the playoffs, college football playoffs, to 16 teams, it gives those teams who are like the 16th, 15th team
Why stop it there,
that
Jen?
extra game. Huh?
64 team playoff.
I think it
Let's bring in
definitely.
March Madness to football. Can we get
Wow.
December Madness?
No. I feel
Imagine
like
how
with football
long that
that'd be a
would
little bit
take
more
if you can
difficult.
only play one game a week.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Fuck that.
I think that 16 is good because of the fact that you can get those top two teams a break.
Yep.
They've had a long season
So
and
you're
they've had
saying
to
six
dominate for a full
teams,
season.
not
Yeah.
16, but six teams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 6 teams. Just want to clarify
All
that.
right.
It sounded like you said 16 for a second. I was
But
like, that's way too much, dog. What are you talking about?
yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I feel like if you give the week a bye week, you give a chance for one of the lower ranked teams to play some teams,
Mhm.
and give everybody a chance to play some football. Because I feel like what college football playoffs is missing is the excitement factor. Since it goes so fast, there's 2 games, and then there's the championship game.
Yeah.
I feel like that it leaves me wanting more, and I'm like, why is it already over? There's only been
Right.
2 games.
Also, it's
So
just
I feel like.
if we're talking, if we're trying to appeal to the NCAA's wants and I guess priority, it's just gonna make more money for those greedy bastards too. Fuck you guys.
Exactly. And then now that they're starting to pass rules where college football players can get paid,
It's gonna make them more money.
hashtag bring back NCAA 21.
Yep.
I think that it's going to be better for everybody.
Yep.
I feel like the players I feel like no team in the top 25 is going to be mad about the chance to break into the top to get a chance at
Not at
playoffs.
all. Not at all.
No one's going to complain about that. It's
Exactly.
college football players. First of all, it also gives players who might not have got the best college career so far, it gives them a better chance to put their name out there a little bit more for the NFL rankings.
Mhm.
When it comes down to draft time, it gives you that much more. And then also for NFL teams, it's good because maybe that quarterback you're thinking about drafting in the top 5, you're like, okay, he hasn't
More
really played
film.
against a lot of tough teams. Yeah, that's you're forcing teams to play against tough competition a couple more times a year. And I feel like that's where it counts.
It's
Because
good for everything.
in my opinion, last year, the way Clemson beat Alabama, I feel if you made the playoffs bigger, I feel like Alabama does not make it to that championship game. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Alabama
I agree.
got lucky. They had a really close game with Kyler Murray almost leading a comeback with Oklahoma.
Hmm.
I feel like if you add extra games, I feel like Alabama made way too many mistakes and got lucky against Oklahoma
Hmm.
and ended up getting exposed against Clemson.
Yep,
So I
that's
feel like if
exactly
you
what happened.
expand it, you kind of put teams against great teams, and you have a better chance of exposing the fakers.
Hmm.
It's just to put it in a simple statement to expose.
Expose the fakers. That's exactly what it is. There is our football discussion for the week. Moving on to our little send off segment. Big news of the UFC and MMA world. A lot of people are expecting a rematch from the Baz Motherfucker fight that we did have over the weekend. Against Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, due to that fight being stopped due to doctor stoppage before the fourth round. But just late, was it early as this morning, Jalen?
It was yesterday.
Late last night, Nate Diaz says peace to the fight game. Jalen, bring us more on this one, please.
So Nate Diaz yesterday announced that well yesterday speaking as of Wednesday, we were recording this on Thursday night.
Yep.
He announced that he was said that the Jorge Masvidal fight was over before it even began, and the fuck a rematch. Um,
That
and
those
he
are his
said that
words. Yeah.
those are his exact words. And he said that he was going to say peace out to the fight game. And he was going to go on tour. Um, not exactly what he's. I don't know what he's doing with
He's going
that,
to
but
smoke weed in different cities.
that sounds amazing for him. So in my opinion, I feel like it's well deserved. If he wants to call it quits, he can call it quits. He's had a great career. I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer in my opinion,
Yes,
just based
without a
off of
doubt, he's
his.
a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's definitely
Not only did
just
he beat
been
up a
there
bunch of
his
fighters,
entire
but he
career.
also beat USADA, which is almost impossible.
Yeah, exactly. He's beat the unbeatable. So I think I think it's kind of weird because he did just have an interview not too long ago with Ariel Helwani,
And he said
saying
rematch.
that he would yeah, that he would no, but he was saying that he would never retire. He said he
Yeah.
what's the
Oh yeah,
point?
that one too.
Yeah. So I didn't this was definitely
Okay.
unexpected.
So from this, I
Um
just have one question for you:
yeah.
Is this a legit retirement, or is he going to fight again?
It's Nate, and I feel like in my opinion if this is fake it'd be because he was making fun of Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like if he was trying to build up for a Connor rematch,
Yeah.
that'd be a good
Amazing
way to do it.
trilogy.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I feel like Nate's usually serious about everything he says. Um, so I feel like it's just kind of and also I feel like it has something to do with the fact that they did give Nate a really long layoff.
Mm-hmm.
They suspended him for a medical suspension to be exact.
Yep.
They gave him a really long medical suspension that wouldn't have allowed the rematch for a very long time. I'm not exactly sure the exact number on how long the suspension was, but
It
it
was
was
long.
quote unquote lengthy. Um, so I think it was more just the fact that they're making him take a break and all this. And I feel like he's just kind of being tired of told what to do
Mm-hmm.
week in and week out. And I feel like this is kind of where he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna call it quits and do what I want to do.
That's
So
fair.
I think this could be legit.
I think that he means it right now. I think he means it, but to
Yeah.
Nate, he's a fighter, and I think that he's. I don't think this was his last fight. I don't think he ends his career on something like this. I think he fights at least one more time. Hopefully, it's for Conor for the
Eh,
trilogy.
yeah.
But I
I
I
think
just think that the fight game's way too enticing to him.
in my opinion, I do agree that the fight game is really enticing to him, but at the same time, I feel like it was a very Nate way to go out. Not in the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he lost, but he went out the doctor stoppage, and it was kind of just like a fu in the face of the UFC. Like, you
Right?
know what? Y'all want to keep telling me what
Fuck
to do? I'm
y'all.
gonna tell y'all something.
Yeah,
It was more of that.
that's a
I
very good
just
point.
Yeah, so it's more of I think Nate hates being told what to do, and the doctor stoppage plus the UFC. Well, technically it wasn't 100% UFC's fault, but just them giving him a really long
Yeah.
suspension, medical suspension. He
More
was like,
towards the
"You
New
guys
York
aren't going
State
to keep
Athletic Commission
dictating."
being a bunch of schmucks like usual.
Yeah, I feel like it was more of him saying, "You guys aren't going to keep dictating how I'm going to live my life." So
That is a Nate
buy the
Diaz
fight
thing.
game.
That is a Nate Diaz thing
Yeah.
for sure. May he continue his world tour smoking, which is likely what I could see him doing. The madman. But with that, folks, we are going to wrap it up this week. Really good conversations, Jalen. As always, I appreciate your input. Follow us on Twitter at Fourth Long Radio, capital F, capital L, capital R, and also be on the lookout for us on Instagram. We will be diversifying soon, and as we are already are on the podcast, a little milk chocolate action on this bad bitch. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jalen, for the demographics. I appreciate it. But thank you, everyone, for joining us with this really fun discussion. Once again, this show it's nice for you guys to listen, but at the end of the day, it's just two to four dudes talking shit about sports and having a good time with it, and we just appreciate you guys for joining us along the path. And it really means your support means a lot to us. Mean that.
Yes, it does.
Of course, follow us on Twitter. Jalen is putting out some hot fire recently. Go check that shit out. And of course, check out the UFC 244 recap show. Really good shit. Resident expert, MMA expert Blake on that. And just check out the stuff. That's all you need to do. Like, follow, subscribe, share, retweet, quote tweet, reply, caption. I don't know. Well, anything else you can do, Jalen?
No, just keep listening.
Venmo.
Yeah, just keep supporting it. I hope to grow and just kind of expand on it. We're gonna keep this going. I mean, if we could someday make money off this to make it even better,
That's just a
that'd be
dream, man.
great.
That's just a dream.
Maybe even one day we get big enough to where we make merch.
Ooh,
T-shirts,
fourth long
hoodie
merch,
stuff.
baby. Hey, that's on you guys at this point. You guys just spread the brand, spread it all
You gotta
over
spread the brand, and then we can give you guys great, great product.
for you to buy, of course, for a minimal fee. Once again, thank you guys for joining us this week. Hope you had a blast, because I know we did. And we will catch you guys in the next one. See you later.